All right, let's just jump right into this one. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to unpack a super fascinating, very recent international event that has literally set the internet on fire with debate. We're talking about the intersection of modern alliances, deep, deep historical memory, and a children's parade. Yeah, a children's parade that somehow found itself right in the eye of a geopolitical hurricane. It's honestly a perfect example of how the past is never really past. So, let's walk through exactly how a simple parade turned into this massive polarized debate. Okay, first let's talk scale, because the numbers here are pretty striking. 1,500. On May 3rd, exactly 1,500 first-grade students, and get this, they specifically traveled from China and Laos, participated in a Russian children's parade. Now, this wasn't just some regular, everyday occurrence. This actually marked the very first time foreign first-graders took part in this specific event. So you're probably wondering, why exactly were they there? What's the big occasion? Well, this wasn't just your typical spring celebration. These kids were there to mark the 81st anniversary of Russia's victory in the Great Patriotic War. Now, if you're not familiar, that's the term predominantly used in Russia for their involvement in World War II. It's a massive, absolutely crucial point of national pride, remembrance, and mourning over there. And deciding to bring in international youth, that was a highly deliberate, brand new choice for this year's commemoration. So as you can imagine, the visual was striking. The Chinese students marched shoulder to shoulder with their Russian and Laotian peers, but here's the detail that really caught everyone's eye. Dozens of these Chinese kids were wearing replica uniforms of the new Fourth Army. For context, that was a major Chinese communist force during the Second Sino-Japanese War. So picture this, unprecedented scene, foreign youth wearing very specific historical military gear, marching right in the middle of a modern Russian parade. To really grasp the intent behind this, we need to look at the official Russian perspective. Oleg Kozmiako, the governor of Primorsky Krai, actually came out and said, "Today, the parade has become internationalized. The heroes of the Great Patriotic War fought for the future of children." So he really emphasized that bringing in these Chinese and Laotian children was meant to be deeply symbolic. From the local government's point of view, the whole shebang was about representing a shared, historical fight for the survival, education, and just the ultimate happiness of all children, completely regardless of borders.
That brings us to our next section, the historical context of Haishanwai.
To figure out why this parade sparked such an intense, visceral reaction, we have to talk about exactly where it went down. Looking at a modern map, the city where this parade took place is known globally as Vladivostok. It's up there in northeast Eurasia, it's Russia's absolute largest Pacific port city, and, this is key, it's the headquarters of the powerful Russian Pacific Fleet. So it's a city of immense strategic value to modern Russia. But, and this is literally the crux of the entire controversy, in China, this exact same city is historically known as Haishanwai.
Let's rewind and trace exactly how that territorial shift happened. Prior to 1860, this land was officially territory of the Chinese Qing dynasty. But then, in November of 1860, the Sino-Russian Treaty of Beijing was signed. And this treaty officially ceded a huge amount of land east of the Ussuri River, which of course included Haishanwai, directly to the Russian Empire. That right there is the objective historical reality. And as we're about to see, it's the exact lens through which millions of people view this city today.
All right, let's move right into the online controversy itself. The literal second footage of these kids marching in Vladivostok hit the internet, public opinion among Chinese netizens totally fractured. It split right down the middle into two highly vocal, totally distinct camps. On one side, we've got the historical grievance camp, and they're heavily focused on the legacy of unequal treaties. Opposing them, right on the other side, is the anti-fascist alliance camp, who are viewing this strictly through the lens of global cooperation during World War II. So let's break down exactly what both sides are arguing here.
Okay, starting with the historical grievance camp. Their argument is firmly rooted in the idea that Haishanwei is at its core ancient Chinese territory. They point out that actually getting this land back has been delayed and complicated by all sorts of historical issues over the centuries. So for this group, seeing Chinese kids participating in a Russian military-style parade on this specific soil, it's deeply, deeply uncomfortable. They just strictly refuse to accept it. Plus, they are vehemently opposed to what they see as sweeping historical Russian aggression under the rug using the modern guise of Sino-Russian friendship. To them, history just can't be paved over by a parade.
Now, totally flipping the script, the anti-fascist alliance camp sees the event in a completely different light. To them, this memorial is fundamentally and exclusively an anti-fascist event. Period.
They're quick to remind folks that during World War II, China, the US, Russia, the UK, and France were all allies. They were united against a common enemy. So from this viewpoint, it's entirely appropriate, maybe even commendable, for modern nations to let their youth celebrate a shared historical victory over fascism. They're basically saying, hey, if World War II allies are celebrating a shared victory that literally secured the future for these kids, what's the harm in letting them march together?
And man, doesn't this just brilliantly illustrate the incredibly complex tightrope of international relations? Which brings us to the ultimate question I want to leave you with today. How exactly should nations balance the deep, sometimes really painful memory of historical grievances with the celebration of modern alliances? I mean, when does history dictate the present, and when does a shared victory transcend those old borders? It's a tough question for sure, with absolutely no easy answers. But as we've seen in today's explainer, it is a question that continues to shape our world, right down to a children's parade in a Pacific port city. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.